we are going to talk a little bit about communication on the love languages. I was telling Ali earlier, I think this is a good marriage, communication, the love languages. We are going to be talking about a lot about communicating interpersonally, right? Maybe sometimes with your significant other, but it really does apply to any relationship that you have, any business relationship, personal relationship that you may have. And so all this apply, I like the interaction. So please feel free, raise your hands if you have questions. There'll be points where I ask you to put some things in the chat, and I want you guys just to be engaged because I want everybody to walk away with something. Now, as you look at this home screen, if you see that fancy picture to the right with the circle, does anybody know what that could mean when it comes to communication? I don't either. I just chose it because I like the picture, but I was like, I need an idea of what that could be, some snazzy thing. I know I got a lot of smart people here tonight, so I wanted to get some great idea I can use going forward. When the next time I use this presentation, I can say that's what it means, but I have no idea. I just like that picture. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's get started. So communication. What is communication? The Oxford Dictionary says that communication is the imparting or exchange of information. The imparting or exchange of information. So essentially, either I am giving you information, or we both are giving each other information. That's as simple as that, right? And these aren't anything. I'm not going to give any secrets, any nuclear bomb secrets or anything. This is all stuff that you already know. It's just bringing it back to your awareness, right? So we're going to start with the foundation. If you were with me last time, right, we're going to similar format. We're going to do the foundational stuff. I'm gonna give you some things that may be new to you, talking about the 5 love languages, and then we're gonna walk away with something, learning something new about ourselves in the process, ideally, right? If everything goes as planned. So how do we communicate? There essentially are 5 ways that we communicate. Verbally, talking, right? It's pretty self-explanatory. Face-to-face, virtually, like it is now. Formal, informal, all of that is verbal communication. Non-verbally, written, listening, and visual. Through visual means, right? And so the nonverbals, everybody know about nonverbals, body language, posture, eye contact, things of that nature. Facial expressions, that's also nonverbal communications, right? Sometimes our face will respond before our mouth is able to, right? So being mindful of that in different moments. Written, emails, tweeting, social media type things, letters. If anybody still writes letters, it's all not written as well. Listening, what that is, right? But listening is one that, oftentimes people are confused about. It's like, well, how's listening communication? Well, if I'm attuned to what you're saying and you're attuned to what I'm saying, then you're communicating that you're interested in what I'm saying. What I'm saying has value to you. And so that's where listening comes in. And then you have the through visual means. So all my people in sororities and frats, you have your hand signals. That's communicating, right? You letting everybody know, what sorority, what fraternity you're in. Different. I could do this. Everybody knows the heart, right? It means I love you guys. Appreciate you guys. So there's different visual means that we can communicate as well. So what determines if communication is effective or ineffective? So I put good or bad, right? But we live in a world where everything is either black or white, good or bad, right? And I want to kind of get away from that. So let's say effective or ineffective, because there's no such thing as good or bad communication. So somebody in the chat, just throw something in there. What do you think determines if communication is effective or ineffective? Nothing. Nobody got anything? It's really simple. You're probably overthinking it. So the thing that determines if your communication is, you know what? I don't even know if I'll be able to see your chats now that I think about it.
You need me to read it for you, Philip?
Yeah, please.
So we got a good one here. So understanding whether the recipient understood, misunderstood, the delivery, the response, willing participants, resolution.
Okay. We got it, right? So it's simple. Does the other person understand what is being communicated? It's as simple as that. Nothing more, nothing less. It's effective if the other person understands. It's ineffective if the other person doesn't. So tonight, if if we walk away from here and you guys don't know anything about what I'm talking about, I didn't communicate effectively. Doesn't matter how good it feels to me. Doesn't matter how many great analogies I think I give. If you walk away without anything, then I didn't communicate effectively. And so the biggest part of that is taking responsibility for what is communicated. So that's the only determining factor. That's why I say let's get away from good or bad, right? Because we say that often, especially in relationships, right? Oh, he's a bad communicator, she's a good communicator, or vice versa. It's just we're always constantly communicating. Some is good, some is effective, and some is not effective. Some are not effective. And so where does communication break down? One of the first things is having expectations that are different or unrealistic, right? We all come from different areas, different places, different families, and our understanding of what's communication is different. We all have, when we're taking our showers in the morning and the evening, right? We go through these conversations in there. We're like, all right, so I'm gonna say this, and they're gonna say that. And so I'm gonna come back with this. And then after that, I'm gonna say that. But then we go to this person, it doesn't go like that, right? Because we have already had this expectation that this is the logical way that the conversation should go. This is how it should be communicated. And that person wasn't in on that secret that you had, that conversation that you had in the shower. And so having the expectations that are either different from the other person or unrealistic is one way that communication breaks down. Another way is focusing on your point and not the bigger picture. So if you're only focused on what it is that you have to get, the point that you have to get across, or the thing that's burning in your soul to get out, and that other person's thoughts or opinions or anything is not taken into account, then you're going to have a breakdown in communication. Then not listening to understand. So have you ever had a conversation with somebody and you laid out things so perfectly and you felt like, all right, this landed great. So now what you got to say? And the things that they say out of their mouth doesn't have anything to do with what you said. Like they just in the completely left field. And now you're like, well, what about everything I just said, right? They weren't really listening, right? They were waiting for you to shut up long enough for them to make their point. And that's the thing we have to remember, right? So not listening to understand, but just listening for that break in action so that we can get our point across is another area where communication breaks down. And then the fourth one, taking things personally. Now, this is one of those things that we say a lot, right? Don't take it personal. Don't take it personal. And it's easy to say, but when you're the one that's on the wrong side of that conversation, it's a little bit more difficult, right? So once we start to take things personal and get defensive, we lose the ability and the opportunity really to connect and to gain connection. And so, when you're talking about not taking things personally and getting in that defensive posture, it could be something as simple as, why do you have on a pink shirt, Allie? And I could go, well, because whatever, right? It could strike a chord with her. And then so now I'm getting fussed out and I'm like, oh, I was just saying that because pink is my favorite color. And I was just going to say it looks nice on you. She's like, oh, okay. But we don't know what's going on internally, right? Oftentimes people have their own things that's going on. We have our own internal dialogues and experiences that we've had. Allie could have had a whole argument with herself about, usually I wear this shirt on Friday nights. So the church people here tonight, I don't want everybody looking at me crazy. So I brought it out to her. And so now she's like, oh, now I got to get defensive. And so not take it personally, just kind of rolling with it and trying to see things from outside of our own points of view. Could I get 2 volunteers, please?
As I said in the beginning, I'll be voluntold. I'm not going to volunteer though.
We can get one male.
Raise your hand. Come on now. Somebody take me off the hook. Tamika, somebody. Sue Lee, somebody. I'm calling out names. Pam Jones, somebody take me off the hook. There we go.
Okay, let's do it.
All right. So we got Lena and
raise your hand, somebody.
You got Tamika and Lena.
Oh, you got both?
2.
Okay.
You got 2.
Amen. Bless you.
All right. So we got Tamika and Lena. All right. So what we're going to do is we are going to do a role play. So what I'm going to do for each of you, I'm going to send you what I want you to talk about. And what it is, I want you to just kind of stay in character. Just these are the things I want you to focus on. when we're discussing what we're going to be talking about. I'm just going to ask you some questions. I want you to focus on that. Lena, you should have yours. And who am I sending to? Tamika Floyd?
I'm sorry to interrupt, but just want to be sure. It's Tamika. Is we sure she's engaged, that she's going to participate in this? I heard some background noise. You know, she got little ones running around.
Okay. So are we going to stick with Tamika, or we're going with somebody else?
Oh, you good? Okay, she say yeah. All right, let's go.
Okay. All right. All right. So, Tamika, I'm about to send you your part as well. And all right. So you both should have it now. All right, so Lena, you got yours. Tamika, you got yours. All right. So we're going to have you two be spotlighted. And what we're going to do now, right? So we're going to pretend that Lena and Tamika are two of my clients, right? They came into my office and they're having some issues, right? And so I'm going to ask, all right, what's going on with you guys? What brings you into the office today? And Lena, I'm gonna allow you to start. Tamika, Tamika, you got your part, right?
Yeah.
You did? Okay. So then I'm gonna get Lena first, and then Tamika, I want you to chime in, and we're just gonna kind of see where that goes, and we're gonna have a little discussion about it. All right. So start with Lena. Lena, how you doing? Why y'all here today?
I'm here because I just like learning new stuff all the time. So I just joined in.
Okay, I appreciate it. But let's go with the role play. What I sent you.
Okay. I cook for the kids. I work and pay the bills, wash and put gas in her car, but still gets mad when I'm on my phone playing Sims.
So you doing all these things. You cooking, cleaning, you washing the car, putting gas in the car, and she still gets mad at you when you're on your phone?
Yes.
All right. And Tamika, what do you say in response to that?
That's rude that you're always on your phone and I don't feel a connection.
So you want a connection. So how come you don't feel connected?
Because she always on her phone. So you got to get it out of
That's right. All right. All right, good. All right, cut. Thank you, my beautiful actors. All right, so Lena's saying that, look, I do all of these things, right? I'm working, I'm cooking for the kids, I'm cleaning the car, putting gas in the car and everything. And I can't even just have some time to play the game on my phone. And Lena's like, look, that's rude. You know, we sit here, we're trying to have some quality time, and you on your phone, you know, taken away from that. So who's right and who's wrong in this scenario?
There's no right or wrong, I don't believe. I mean, because that's just how each person feels. And it goes back to listening to the needs of the other person.
Right.
I don't know, Mr. Riddick. Tamika was throwing a lot of attitude. Did you see that?
Hey, look, you look like you knew you was right. And won't nobody gonna tell you otherwise. Cause I sure won't gonna say you was wrong. Right. If I said anybody was, it won't gonna be you. But you're right. Right. So you know, it's just everybody's coming from their own points of view, and so there's really no right or wrong in this scenario. And so what we're gonna learn about when we're talking about the 5 love languages, right? It kind of is we'll get a different and better understanding of where these two people are coming from and what it is that they both were talking about. So thank you both. And so 5 love languages. So the premise of the book. So for those that have not read it, hopefully you all have. If you have not, I certainly encourage you to. It's one that has been really impactful in my personal life as well as my professional life. And I tell everyone that I see that I come in contact with that they should read this book. It's not a long read. and it's relatively simple. It's by Gary Chapman. And so the premise behind the book is that we all experience love or appreciation in different ways. And so, the goal is to find out what it is that we see as our primary love language, right? What way is it that we receive love the best? And so when we're talking about this, love is what we do, not just what we feel. And so, a lot of times we feel love from other people, especially you think about the earlier times in your relationship, right? Everything's new. They're doing all these things to make you happy. You're doing all these things to make them happy, and everything is great. That's the honeymoon phase of the relationship, right? And so, we feel, they make us feel good. And a lot of that love that we feel is because, every time around you, I just feel so great. I feel like a new person. I feel, everything's exciting. And so I love that feeling. And we sometimes confuse that with actual love. And so that's how understanding that love is an action. Love is something that we constantly have to do, and it requires work, is important. And so that's another thing that they talk about in the book, is just understanding that true love requires work from both of us, from both parties, in order for it to really work and last. And so the experiences that we have that make us love, sometimes we don't get a manual, right? We get a manual of how to love. How do we, what role do we play in relationships? How do we make relationships last? We don't get that written out anywhere. We don't have anywhere we can study that. And so what happens is we just go with what we saw more often than not always. Nothing's absolute, but more often than not, we go with what we saw, right? So how did our parents communicate love? So if my parents communicate love by, if every time I saw them, they were yelling and screaming at each other, but, they would kiss and make up, or, we would still have dinner. We still what I consider to be a happy family. Then guess what? When I get in my relationships, I'm going to start yelling and screaming. And I'm gonna say, look, this is how you know I love you, girl. I'm yelling at you. Don't you understand this? I love you. And we're gonna argue or fuss and fight. And at the end of the day, I want you to understand that I love you. But if my partner comes from a family that has like date nights, and when they have disagreements, they talk very calmly and understanding of each other, and are very civil, then that becomes their expectation as she gets to the age of being in relationships. And so this is where these issues come in, right? Because I'm communicating the way that I saw it. She's communicating the way that she saw it. But neither one of us saw the other person's upbringing. So our expectations are, going back to what we were talking about earlier, having realistic expectations become more difficult when you're coming from different places. And so the goal of the book is to help in learning how we prefer love, as well as learning how to love our significant others. And so, like I said earlier, we're talking about relationships. We'll talk a lot about relationships because that's kind of what this version of the book is talking about. But it can be applied to many other types of relationships that you have. They even have love languages for children, for teens, for work. They have all different types of love language books. So definitely check them out. So what are the 5 love languages? In no particular order. The first one, words of affirmation. I feel loved or appreciated when I hear it or get it in writing from you. So, hearing and saying, all right, after dinner, hey, baby, that was a scrumptious dinner. I appreciate the time and effort that you put in doing that. That was great. Saying I love you, writing cards or notes of appreciation. Write little notes and put it in their luggage. There'll definitely be a good surprise, happy surprise, and they'll appreciate that. So words of affirmation is just making sure that they hear it or see it from you in word form. Then physical touch. A lot of times we think physical touch, we just think sex, right? But so much more to physical touch than that, right? So I feel loved or appreciated through contact. That contact equals a connection. And so it could be high fives, pats on the back, hugs, anything, right? Holding hands. Those are all points of contact that reinforce that love that you have. So people whose primary love language is physical touch, you have to make sure that you do that, right? So I'm a physical touch guy. And so I do a lot of hugs. I'm a bro hug guy. I'm a handshake guy, all of that. So COVID was really making me feel distant from people because you can't do all that no more, right? But that's just the reality of understanding. And even in different positions that I've had, like as I was the director of the hospital, and I'm understanding that's my love language. It was like, oh, you know what? I can't just be hugging on everybody that comes into my office, or it gives a creepy vibe sometimes. So you just gotta understanding your love language and how to adapt and get what you need, and it is important in that. So even though that's the like the professional examples, right, of understanding that what's appropriate or what's inappropriate, how do you show appreciation, but also not crossing the line and boundaries when you're working with people. Then also gifts. So gifts have a negative connotation, right? It's like, oh, you're just a materialistic person, but it's not about just materialism. Gifts are saying I love or feel loved or appreciated when you give me something special. And so that something special is just all it is something to remind them or let them know that you were thinking of them. So something concrete that shows the love that you have for somebody. And the effort in that gift is really what's most important, right? So if you throughout the year, if you just take a list of things that your significant other has mentioned that they like or need, if they're a gifts person, just kind of showing up with that is a huge indication to them that they feel love, and that aids in that connection. And then the fourth one is acts of service. So acts of service is when I feel loved when you do something for me. And so that doing something for me is not just, it's things that takes things off my plate or makes my load easier, right? And so without having to ask, just cleaning my car or packing a lunch for me, taking up a chore that I would normally have to do, paying a bill that I would normally have to pay. Just doing things, just something to show that you care about me and want me to have a lighter load. And then last but not least, quality time. I feel love or appreciated when you give me your undivided time. And so that could be, anything, spending time together, cooking dinner together, having a scheduled date night every week is important for this one. That undivided time with someone else is important for the quality time. And so as we look at these and think back to the scenario, what love languages would you say that Lena and Tamika had? We'll do Lena first. What love language do you think Lena was speaking from? You can put it in the chat if you want. We got anything? I can't see it.
We have one that says one was quality time. Words of affirmation, quality time. Keeping an eye here. Affirmation.
Okay.
And the first
All
one.
right. So quality time, that was Tamika, right? Tamika was saying, hey, look, I think it's rude that you're on your phone. We watching TV, we spending some time together, and you on your phone, right? I just want your time. I don't want you, you being on your phone is not us spending time. And so Lena's was actually acts of service, because she was saying all the things she was doing. I was cooking for you. I was, putting gas in your car. I was cleaning your car. I was doing this, that, and the third. These are all acts to show that I love you. And so those were their love languages. So how could they get over the issues they were experiencing?
Is that a question for the floor?
Yes, it is.
Well, I think Tamika first needed to cut a little bit of that attitude. She came real hard. She came real hard.
she won't play it, was she?
Listen to each other would be something I would say. Actually, really
listening to each other. That's always a good start, right? So going back to what we were saying earlier, right? Just kind of listening to understand. What are some other things that's coming through?
Limited phone time and finding the right type of communication and body language. and learning
yes.
through their communication language. Oh, one more. Try to understand the language their counterpart is communicating in.
Right. So trying to understand where the other person's coming from, right? So Lynn could say, all right, look, so, we'll spend, after I get home from work, after everything's done, we'll spend 2 hours every night, just you and me. I won't be on my phone from 7 to 9. And then, then Tamika saying, all right, well, look, you know what, I'll show more appreciation for the things that you do. I'll allow you, I appreciate all that you do. And so I understand that you want to unwind. And if playing on your phone will let you unwind, then I'll let you do that. And so just understanding, like, so love being action, right? Understanding that we have to give in order to get, right? What they say, you catch more bees with honey. And so, if we're able to do those things that help our person feel loved, they're more likely to reciprocate. And it makes it easier for everyone. And so now what we're going to do, I still got 20 minutes. All right. So what we're going to do is I want you all to take the love language test. We're all going to figure out what our own love languages are. But first, I want you all to kind of look at all 5 again, and in your mind, just kind of think about what you think yours is. Just looking at these 5, just kind of get an idea. What do you think yours is? Yeah, words of affirmation, physical touch, gifts, acts of service, quality time. And so if you have something, you'll have to, preferably if you have something to write with or on, that would be ideal. And then we will take these tests. Only 30 questions. What you will do is there's 2 options on each question, and you will pick the one that best describes you. So between the 2, both of them might be something that you enjoy, but you're going to pick the one that best describes you. And so that is the first 15. I'll give a couple minutes for you all to go through that. All right. Need a little bit more time on this one?
Yeah, I do. I'm on 13. Please.
Okay. Yeah, go for it. We good to move on? Anybody need more time? Raise your hand. All right. And so on this one, sorry, there's math, right? So on this one, you finish your 30. I want you to count all your A's, all your B's, all your C's, all your D's, all your E's. So as you tally them up, like I said, so you'll see, as you see at the bottom, all your A's is words of affirmation, all your B's, quality time, all your C's, receiving gifts, excuse me, all your D's are acts of service, all your E's are physical touch.
Mr. Riddick, I need a diagnosis.
That
I ain't
ain't
got
gonna
one C up here. I don't got one. Something wrong. I know I like to be touched. Oh no, that's gifts. Okay.
Oh, the gift. Yeah, C's are the gifts. Yeah, that's something went terribly awry.
Yeah, something's wrong.
Hey, Philip, we got a question. I kind of had the same issue. What if we have a
Yes,
tie?
ma'am.
What if we got a tie between multiple letters?
All right, good question. So, there is a possibility that there are two things that kind of really speak to you, when it comes to receiving love. Now, we have 5 things, and it doesn't mean that you only need one and the rest of them don't matter to you. It's just showing, kind of what's most important to you. in a hierarchy scale. So it's very possible that you'll have two, and that makes it easier for your partner, right? It means they got two different ways to show you that they love you. They got more things to choose from. So there's nothing wrong with that. Mine are very close. I think mine were physical touch and acts of service, and acts of service was just one off. And so those are two things. So it's possible that you'll have things that are very close or that are equal as you complete this test. So good question. So I'm assuming is everybody good?
Yep.
So when it comes to your relationships or interacting with other people, right? What happens if we have different love languages? So ideally, what you want to do, if whether it be in a personal relationship, business relationship, or whatever have you, if you know that other person's love language, then do things that you know are pleasing to that person. And like I said earlier, right? Catch more bees with honey. You can, if you do that, they are more likely, if there's an investment that's reciprocated, they're more likely to speak in your language as well. So if it's different, what does that mean? So over time, your love language may change. We grow, we mature, we have different things happen in our lives that may change our perspective of the importance of things. And so it doesn't matter. So even if some of you may have taken it before, excuse me, you may take it tonight and it'd be different than what it was last time you took it. That happens. Sometimes it changes over time. So I guess by show of hands, right, was anybody surprised by their love language? Or just think about it, right? So you thought about what it was at first, and then through taking the test, was there any major differences, any things that kind of shocked you? Yeah. Mm-hmm. Anybody care to share? We ain't gonna put nobody on the spot, but if you want to.
Put my hand down quick. You see how fast it went down?
That was quick too. You put your hand down real quick.
I'll share my top two.
Mm-hmm.
So my first one is acts of service, and my second one is receiving gifts, and the other three are actually evenly divided.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. How far are they from 1 and 2?
Let's see. Hold on, let me get my math back. I had 9 for acts of service and 6 for gifts, and 5 for each of the other 3.
For the other ones. Okay. All right. So it's pretty evenly distributed. So just kind of thinking about this and think about the people that are in your lives, right? The people that you love in your lives, and just kind of thinking about what applies to them. How do they receive love? And how do they show you love? Because a lot of times we take, like going back to what we said earlier, right? Taking it personally, right? Hey, all I want is, your undivided time. I don't want you to be on the phone while we spend time together. But for them, they're showing you love in other ways. As the book put it, right? You're speaking English, they're speaking Chinese, and you're both saying, I love you, but I don't understand it because I don't speak Chinese. You don't understand it because you don't speak English. So understanding and looking at these things that are done, that are to show love, even if they aren't the way that you receive love, just understand, okay, so maybe I can say that, you cut the grass was you trying to show that you love me, or you, buying me lunch or whatever. That was something that showed you love me. Even though I want your time, even though I want you to hug me, when I see you, those things are important. And so just kind of remembering that in our own relationships. Any questions for me?